Hi, this is Andrea. I'm an autism mum. If you're listening for the first time, I'm here to be the voice of my daughter, other parents, professionals, and neurodivergent individuals through our own lived experiences. I want to give visibility to these superstars that most of the time behind the scenes make a huge impact on neurodivergent lives. Welcome to the Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. And I have a wonderful guest with me today. We've been working together for the past 7 months, and this might sound very bizarre, but this is the first time we're actually sitting properly down to have a chat.
Yeah.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Andrea.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So Rachel is one of our mentors at Oxford Creators, the alternative provision for children with special educational needs. And I thought it would be a great idea to hear her views on neurodiversity with her sharing her own experience. So Rachel, my first question to you is, how did you get here to this stage of your neurodiversity journey?
Okay, well, so I was coaching boxing and still am at a boxing club. And I met Veena because she joined my ladies only boxing class. So she then said to me, I think you'd be fantastic for doing some sports mentorship with some of the children we work with. And that's when it began. I've been there a year now, just over a year. And it's one of the best things I've ever done. I think that from my experience working with children that are neurodiverse, it's sort of made me realise we have a lot of similarities, let's say. I'm still undiagnosed at the moment, but I think that when you work with people of similar personalities and behaviours, it's quite interesting to see how each day at school for them, at work, it could be based on the same as how I might behave as well. So
yeah, and I guess it helps you understanding certain things about yourself that otherwise you wouldn't, right?
100%. Yeah, it's amazing. If anything, I learn from them, which is great. So I think it's therapy for us both.
Yeah, it's both ways win, isn't it?
Definitely.
Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. So Rachel, you mentioned how much you learn with the children that you mentor at Oxford Creators. How do you feel, or in what areas do you feel that they are failed the most, if in any?
At school, really, mainstream school, it doesn't work for everyone. When I was at school, I struggled quite a lot because it was the way that we were taught. So I sort of learn by repetition. Some people don't learn like that. And also something has to really take my interest. And I have to understand the importance of why. And it's the same even when I'm coaching now. I'll explain to someone why we do something in boxing, the importance of it. Because if I don't understand why, I don't see the point. And I just think with schools, it's very much you're told to just get on with it rather than the reason why. And I also think a lot of people say this, we just don't have enough life skills in school. So it's not adaptable to the outside world. So I just think if there'd be different structures for different types of people, because we're all different. We don't fit into the same sort of box.
Yeah, that's very true. And we understand that it would be very difficult to tailor education to every single individual, but there should definitely be a more flexible approach that can be used differently. And I totally agree with what you said about the lack of life skills. We go to school, of course, I've been in school a long time ago, but I think it's not only until you get to university, if you get there, that you kind of understand why you are doing it. And when you have to go to university, you're still so young that you might not even know why you are doing. And there's so many people who do just courses because they are going to university, and then they don't use the skills that they they get throughout the course. And yeah, you learn history, you learn geography. Of course, you kind of need to have an understanding of these subjects for you to grow up. But what about things like going to a shop, managing a budget for you to be able to pay your bills in the future? So that's very important, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and applying circumstances as well. I always remember there was an RE teacher. He was brilliant, and he basically said for educating. So imagine if we were, bombed or something over here, and we had to move over to Mexico, and we had to learn the language and adapt. And so it was turning the story round the other way round. So that was how he was getting us to learn sort of different perspectives and saying, well, this is, you'd have to learn part of a religion, and I just think that there's not a lot of teachers that break things down enough for people. It is just literally from a textbook or a computer these days.
Yep, because now we have technology as well,
right.
which can be amazing, but it can also have a large number of downsides to it. Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. You are a mentor, so you look after the children while you are at Oxford Creators. You're also a boxing coach. But besides all of this, what defines you as an individual? I'm pretty sure I know it's going to be being a boxing coach, but I'm sure there's something else to that. I just found out something else that defines you. So maybe you can tell us a bit about your board games passion.
So I'm really competitive in like everything that I do, but I really like board games because they're competitive as well, right? I've got a little boy who's 7, so I just think they're really good for learning as well. Obviously you can get some that are really boring, but I just think they're good fun. Like, I grew up where as well, I lived in the middle of nowhere at points, and you just had to entertain yourself. But then when I was with people like video games and stuff, we had stuff when I was younger, but I wasn't allowed to go on stuff all the time, and I think that because of that, like when we were friends or family or stuff, we do that to pass the time, and it was always made fun. It was always made competitive. Like everyone wants to win, but in a good way. It was good fun. Obviously, there's a few arguments. Monopoly goes without saying, but for me, boxing obviously is my passion. I think that defines me sort of more than anything. I'm a mum, I love being a mentor, but just doing my best and trying to encourage other people to do their best, because I think with boxing as well, you never stop learning. So I always encourage people, just keep going, because people think they're going to get it right the first time, and you're not. Like, you never stop learning.
No, I used to be a kickboxer myself. Well, I'm still a kickboxer. I have the belts actually. One is here somewhere. I got to the yellow belt, but that's exactly how I felt. It's not easy, and you're not going to do it perfectly, but it doesn't matter as long as you are enjoying yourself, and if it's helping your mental health, that's the most important thing, isn't it? Yeah. Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. And Rachel, who would you say is your biggest support in your journey?
I'd say everyone close to me, really. So that's family and friends. Anyone that knows that, I always have good people around me. But I've got to give a massive shout out to Veena from Oxford Creators. She is such good support. She always encourages me in everything I do. She always praises me. It's always positive, but equally, if there's something that she feels that I could do a little bit more of or learn from, she'll say to me as well. So she is just one in a million. So she's my inspiration and my support.
Yeah, and I think I ditto that as well. She has the capacity of pushing us to follow our dreams and to do the things that we love the most. So thank you, Veena. From Rachel and myself, you are a star, and we love you very much, and it's amazing to have a boss who doesn't feel like a boss. Absolutely. Because you are just a star.
Yeah.
Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. I guess I know the answer to the next question, which is, how do you treat yourself when you have some time? but you might surprise me. Who knows?
So, yes, boxing, great for your mental health, fitness, anything sort of fitness, sports related. But I'm also a massive foodie. I'm obsessed with food. I know foods from every different culture. People are always really surprised. And I like really weird things that everyone's like, oh, for God's sake, chicken livers, ox tongue, the stinkiest cheese ever. And yeah, cheese is life. So anything food related, I absolutely love. And obviously nutrition is really important in boxing as well. But I do like to let my hair down a bit as well. So
that reminds me that we still have to go to the Portuguese restaurant, because unfortunately it's actually going to close at the end of this month. So we need to arrange to go and have dinner there for you to try some Portuguese food.
Definitely.
Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. And who would you say is your biggest inspiration?
So I'm not really into famous people or anything like that. There's no one that really inspires me like that. I've got great family and friends around me that inspire me. But this might be a really random one. There is a lady called Sunny who is from Camden Boxing Club. And we've only met a couple of times, but she is my inspiration. So I watch her on Instagram. She is herself. She is amazing boxer. She is an amazing influencer, really. Everything that she does, she just speaks the truth, and she just encourages you, not to beat yourself up. And some days, obviously, we have bad days with food, training, and she's phenomenal. I think she runs a club or something as well, which I might join, the Hybrid Fit Gang. I'm sure that's what it is. So Sunny, if you ever hear this, shout out to you, because you're my inspiration.
And that's a great inspiration to have. We definitely need more people who speak the truth and are themselves. Let's not get into that topic right now, but it's amazing to see. Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. And Rachel, I just found out that you are a bit geeky with board games. How much of a geek are you with superheroes? Are you going to surprise me with loving Japanese anime as well?
No, not into any of that, I'm afraid. And superheroes, I'm not into anything like Marvel or anything like that. But if I had a superpower, it's really selfish. It would be the ability to just get ready, click my fingers, and be ready at any point. So all my clothes don't get pulled out. It doesn't take me hours and probably days after to put them all away. I'd just be ready, I hate it. It's my biggest bugbear.
I love that, and I think you might have just gotten a lot of fans within the female community, because I'm exactly the same. And I think that that power of yours would make the world a better place for so many people. How would you think that power would help other people?
Probably with neurodivergent people, we're always rushing around, so it might save a lot of time. We might be on time for once. I've got to say, I'm normally on time or a minute earlier, and if I'm early, I feel so proud of myself.
I have to say that you were here exact on time today. I didn't look at the time, but I think so.
Yes.
So well done for that.
Thank you.
Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. So besides clicking your fingers and getting dressed in a second, what other hopes would you have for the future? Because this is not a realistic one. We know that. Let's be serious now. Yeah. What are your hopes for the future, Rachel?
So I always just want to gain more knowledge in the boxing world. And it would be just great to influence more children and young adults to do boxing. Eventually, one day, I would absolutely love to own my own club. That's a new one. But yeah.
No, I think it makes sense. It would be there's a neurodiverse. There's a V there, so it would be a club.
Yeah.
It makes total sense because it would be inclusive.
Yeah. And yeah, that would be great as well. I think until you're at a boxing club or you're in that environment, you don't realise as well how many people that box are neurodivergent, because it's a release for them, and it's great for your mental health. It's a focus. And again, boxing is the only thing that I've never given up, because again, you don't stop learning. So your brain is constantly
evolving.
challenged. Yeah, exactly. To me, it's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I don't know if you find the same, but I remember when I started kickboxing that I think it was one of my managers at the time. He was like, "Oh, kickboxing, that's very violent." But I think there is a misconceived idea of what it is about.
Yeah.
It's, it doesn't mean that if you practice boxing or kickboxing that you're actually going into a ring to fight. And even if you do, it's a sport. I would never dare to go onto a fight, but it's about what you say. It's about your focus, your discipline. It's also about your mental health. It's that time of the week or of the day when you are there and you are focusing on something that you're doing for yourself and that you enjoy. So no, it's not about violence.
No.
It is a sport.
However, going in the same line with that competitiveness, I don't know why, but I love getting punched in the face. I love punching other people in the face. But the best thing, I think, every person that I've had 4 fights, but I've got on with everyone afterwards. Like literally, the second that final bell goes, you're friends. So you go to war, you enjoy it. It's competitive. It's a sport. You're not actually there to completely kill someone, but you're there for the challenge. To you want to win, right? But it's I think that's the thing that everyone that I've fought, I'm friends with. So it's great.
Yeah, and I think as long as you are on the same boat and that's your passion, that's absolutely fine. But again, it's not about how violent it is. Yes,
definitely.
But it's being safe in an environment that's created for it to happen.
Definitely.
So yeah.
And for kids as well, I mean, that's exactly what they need. That focus. They don't need to be violent. They just get a bit of perhaps anger out as well, because sometimes that's all you need is just to hit a punch bag or hit some pads, and that release, and also just the feeling of hitting pads makes you feel so good. I don't know what it is. That sound. It's the sound on the pads.
Yep. It is, and I couldn't agree more with that. I'm missing because of an injury I have in the neck. I can't punch, and I'm doing kicks at the moment, which is great, but I just miss a good punch. There's something magical to it for sure that makes you very happy.
Definitely.
Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. And we are coming to an end. This is my final question, one of my favorites that gets sometimes a bit emotional. If your heart had a voice, what would it tell us?
So my greatest feeling in the world is being happy for someone else. So when you see someone's success and you're happy for them, I think there's no greater feeling. And I think that people should just support people more. Rather than jealousy, just have that feeling, be happy for people, want their success, and watch people thrive, support people as much as you can, in no matter what you do. And obviously, you don't need to exhaust all your energy and not focus on yourself, but I think that people get caught up in comparing themselves rather than being happy for people and seeing how well you can build things together. So yeah, I think that's what my heart would say.
Yeah, and I think that's something again that the world needs to change. I think in the past we just grew up with these certain values and beliefs that you are brought up with and you don't realize it, and unfortunately that's the case. But I think more and more, with media and with people being more honest and being themselves, and we fighting for the acceptance of people for who they are, because this is not good for you. I find myself, for example, judging myself for things that I shouldn't, because that's the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy for anyone. It's not healthy for you, because it just reduces your confidence.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's all together change this. And I think that's a very, very beautiful message, Rachel. Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. Rachel, I'm so glad we've done this. It's like we finally went for a coffee. Now we have dinner planned before the end of May for you to try Portuguese food.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being my guest today. It was a great pleasure to interview you. Thanks for sharing your own lived experience as a mentor and as a potential ADHDer. And I hope to maybe interview you in a few months' time for you to share some updates, and maybe you'll tell us that you have your own boxing club.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is my first ever podcast. I actually don't like, well, a lot of people don't like the sound of their voice. I can't stand being on video. I'll do a selfie. So
Good,
yeah.
because we are going to do one.
And so this for me as well is about building up a bit of self-confidence as well. So yeah, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and you did brilliantly. And also, this is my first podcast too. You're not the first person I'm interviewing, but it is my first podcast.
Excellent.
Hopefully the only one I will have, but that will stay here for many years. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Neurodiverse Voices podcast, celebrating difference. And that was the fantastic Rachel, who I had the pleasure to interview today. Thank you for listening to the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. Our next episode will be made available in a couple of weeks' time, and I look forward to having you on that side as usual.